Park Hyun wiped the sweat from her forehead and looked at her hands. She was wearing only one glove. The left one was still on her hand, but the right one was gone. She stopped working and looked around the cargo bay floor. Metal containers were stacked everywhere, creating long shadows under the bright ceiling lights. Where did it go? She muttered to herself. Park Hyun was an engineer on the Celestial Harmony, a massive ship that traveled between star systems carrying goods and passengers. The ship was so large that it took 15 minutes to walk from one end to the other. She had been working here for 8 months now, and she loved her job. Most of the time, she got down on her knees and looked under the nearest container. Nothing but dust and a few loose bolts. She checked behind the toolbox. Still nothing. The glove had simply disappeared. The cargo bay was cold. Space was just beyond the walls, and even with the ship's heating system, this area always felt like winter. That was why she needed those thermal gloves. Her hands would freeze without them. Park Hyun stood up and brushed off her knees. She would have to report this to her supervisor. It was protocol. Everything on the ship had to be tracked, even a lost glove. She walked to the communication panel on the wall and pressed the button. "Maintenance log, this is Park Hyun in Cargo Bay 7, she said. "I lost one of my thermal work gloves during today's inspection. Right hand. I will need a replacement." A voice came through the speaker. It was Grulmox, the reptilian engineer who managed the equipment inventory. His voice always sounded like rocks grinding together. "Acknowledged. Another glove? That is the third request this month from human workers." Park Hyun felt her cheeks get warm. "Sorry, we seem to lose them a lot." "Curious species," Grulmox said, but his tone was not unkind. "I will process the requisition. Pick up your new glove tomorrow." "Thank you," Park Hyun said. She ended the communication and went back to work. She still had 6 more power conduits to inspect before her shift ended. Unknown to her, 2 small figures had been listening from behind a stack of supply crates. Tumba and Skrit were young Felnari, a species that looked like a mix between a fox and a cat. They had large ears, fluffy tails, and were barely 3 feet tall. The adult Felnari called them cubs, and they worked as junior assistants on the ship. "Did you hear that?" Tumba whispered. His orange fur was standing up with excitement. "The human lost her glove." "So?" Skrit replied. She was smaller than Tumba, with gray and white fur. "Humans lose things all the time. My supervisor says they are very careless. But we could find it for her." Tumba's eyes were shining. "We could be heroes. Maybe they would give us a medal." Skrit twitched her ears, thinking, "A medal would be nice. My mother would be so proud." The 2 cubs watched as Park Hyun finished her work and left the cargo bay. The large door slid shut behind her with a soft hiss. The lights dimmed to night mode, leaving only the emergency strips glowing along the floor. "We should come back tonight," Tumba said, "when no one is working here." "We will search every corner," Skrit nodded. "Meet back here after dinner shift?" "Agreed." The 2 cubs scurried away to their regular duties, already planning their search mission. Later that night, the cargo bay was quiet and dark. Most of the crew was either sleeping or relaxing in the common areas. The Celestial Harmony operated on a 26-hour cycle to accommodate the different species on board. Right now, it was the middle of the night shift. Tumba and Skrit slipped through the cargo bay door when it opened for a maintenance drone. They were good at sneaking into places. Being small had its advantages. "Okay," Tumba said softly. "You search the left side, I will search the right side. Look everywhere. Under containers, behind equipment, inside open crates." "What does a human glove look like?" Skrit asked. Tumba paused. "I think they have 5 fingers. And they are probably thick because she said thermal." The 2 cubs separated and began their search. Tumba checked behind a row of sealed containers marked with symbols from different planets. He found nothing. He climbed up on a tool cart and looked on top of a storage cabinet. Nothing there either. Skrit was having similar luck. She squeezed into narrow spaces between crates and crawled under equipment platforms. She found a data pad that someone had lost, and a half-eaten protein bar, but no glove. After an hour of searching, they met back in the middle of the cargo bay. "Nothing," Tumba said, his tail drooping. "Wait," Skrit said. She was sniffing the air. "I smell something. Something soft and warm. This way." She led Tumba to the back corner of the cargo bay where older equipment was stored. There was a large environmental control unit that nobody used anymore. Skrit squeezed behind it. "Found it." She called out, but when she emerged she was carrying not 1 glove, but 2 gloves. both for the right hand. Toomba's ears stood straight up. 2 gloves? But the human only lost one today. There are more back here, Skrit said. She dove back behind the unit. For the next 10 minutes, the 2 cubs pulled out glove after glove. They made a pile in the middle of the floor. Thermal gloves, work gloves, even one fancy glove that looked like it was for formal occasions. When they finished, they counted them. 20, Toomba said in amazement. 20 gloves. Skrit sat down next to the pile, her tail swishing with confusion. Why would humans hide gloves back there? Are they collecting them? Is this some kind of human treasure? Maybe gloves are very valuable to humans, Toomba suggested. Maybe they are like the memory crystals that Vrilnari collect. My supervisor Kivrath has hundreds of crystals in his quarters. But these are just work gloves, Skrit said. She picked one up and examined it. They are not even new. This one has a hole in the thumb. Toomba looked at the pile of gloves, then at his friend. What do we do now? We return them to the human, of course, Skrit said. That is what we came here to do. Maybe she will explain why humans collect gloves. All 20? All 20. The 2 cubs found an empty supply crate and loaded all the gloves into it. It was heavy, but working together, they managed to drag it to the cargo bay exit. They would wait until morning shift and then present their find to Park Hyun. As they worked, neither of them noticed the small opening in the wall behind the old environmental unit. They did not see the faint scratches on the metal floor, or the few strands of strange fiber caught on a sharp edge. They were too focused on their mission and too excited about being heroes. The cargo bay door closed behind them as they left with their crate of gloves. The emergency lights continued to glow softly in the darkness, and deep in the walls of the ship something small and frightened shifted in its hiding place, wondering why the warm, soft things had been taken away from its nest. Park Hyun was eating breakfast in the crew cafeteria when Toomba and Skrit found her. She was sitting with 2 other human engineers, discussing the day's maintenance schedule. The cafeteria was busy with the morning shift, filled with dozens of different species eating their preferred foods. Excuse me, Engineer Park Hyun, Toomba said politely. He and Skrit were struggling to push a supply crate across the floor. Park Hyun looked down at the 2 cubs and smiled. Hello, can I help you with something? We can help you, Skrit said, her tail wagging with pride. We found your lost glove. Oh, that is very sweet, Park Hyun said. But I already requested a new one. You did not need to search for it. But we found more than just your glove, Toomba said. He reached into the crate and pulled out a handful of gloves. We found all of them. Park Hyun's smile faded to confusion. She stood up and looked into the crate. It was full of gloves. She reached in and pulled one out, then another. Her 2 human colleagues came over to look. These are not mine, Park Hyun said slowly. She held up a glove that was clearly too large for her hand. I only lost 1 glove yesterday. Where did you find all of these? In Cargo Bay 7, Skrit said. Behind the old environmental unit. They were all hidden there. Park Hyun exchanged looks with her colleagues. One of them, a man named Kang Minho, picked up a glove and examined it. This is a standard cold weather glove, he said. Same kind we all use. But look, they are all different brands. Different wear patterns, too. The other engineer, Han Ji-woo, was looking more concerned. Why would someone collect work gloves and hide them in the cargo bay? Within an hour, the crate of gloves was sitting in the security office, and Choi Dae was examining each one with a serious expression. Choi Dae was the head of security on the Celestial Harmony. He was a former military officer from Earth, and he took his job very seriously. His office was neat and organized, with screens showing different areas of the ship. Park Hyun stood in front of his desk, feeling nervous even though she had done nothing wrong. Toomba and Skrit sat on chairs nearby, their legs dangling well above the floor. 20 gloves, Choi Dae said. He was making notes on his data pad. All right-handed. All thermal or work gloves, found hidden in Cargo Bay 7. We did not think it was hidden, Toomba said quietly. We thought they were just lost. Choi Dae looked at the cubs and his expression softened slightly. You did good work finding them. But this is strange. Very strange. He tapped his datapad and brought up a file. I checked the maintenance logs. Over the past 6 months, 8 different human crew members have reported lost gloves. All right-handed gloves. I thought it was just coincidence. You think someone is stealing gloves? Park Hyun asked. I do not know what to think yet, Choi Dae replied. He pressed a button on his desk. Captain Kivrath, this is security. I need you to come to my office. We have a situation. Captain Kivrath arrived 10 minutes later. He was a Vrelnari, an insectoid species with 4 arms and large compound eyes. He moved with precise, careful steps, and his voice had a clicking quality to it. "What is this situation?" he asked, looking at the crate of gloves. Choi Day explained everything. The captain listened without interrupting, which was the Vrelnari way. When Choi Day finished, Kivrath was silent for a long moment. "I do not understand human behavior," the captain finally said. "Why would humans hoard gloves? What purpose does this serve?" "We are not hoarding them," Park Hyun said quickly. "I have never seen most of these gloves before." "But they are all human gloves," Kivrath pointed out. "Only humans wear such things. Other species do not need hand coverings for warmth." "Captain, I think there's more going on here," Choi Day said. "I want to interview all the human crew members who reported lost gloves, and I want to search Cargo Bay 7 more thoroughly." Kivrath made a clicking sound with his mandibles. "Approved. Keep me informed. I want to understand this mystery." Over the next few hours, Choi Day called in each human who had reported a lost glove. The stories were all similar. They had been working in various parts of the ship, noticed a glove was missing, and reported it. None of them had any idea why their gloves would be in Cargo Bay 7. "This makes no sense," Choi Day said to Park Hyun after the last interview. "Everyone seems honest. No one is hiding anything." "Maybe we should call Dr. Yoon," Park Hyun suggested. "She knows about human psychology and alien psychology. Maybe she can help explain this." Choi Day nodded and sent a message to the medical bay. Dr. Yoon Isul arrived 20 minutes later. She was a small woman with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. She had been the ship's doctor for 3 years and was respected by every species on board. "You wanted to see me about gloves?" she asked, looking at the crate. Choi Day explained the situation again. Yoon Isul listened carefully, occasionally picking up a glove and examining it. "And you think this is some kind of psychological issue?" she asked. "I'm hoping you can tell me," Choi Day said. "The captain thinks humans are hoarding them, but that does not make sense to me." Yoon Isul smiled. "No, we are not hoarding them. At least not intentionally." "Then what is happening?" Park Hyun asked. "Let me ask you something," Yoon Isul said. "How many times have you lost a glove in your life? Not just on this ship, but ever?" Park Hyun thought about it. "I do not know. Many times, maybe 15 or 20 times. Yoon Isul looked at Choi Day. "And you?" The security chief looked uncomfortable. "Probably more than that. But I do not see what this has to do with anything." "Everything," Yoon Isul said. She picked up several gloves from the crate. "Humans lose gloves constantly. It is one of the most common human experiences. We have jokes about it. We have stories about it. There is even an old Earth legend about a place where all lost gloves go. But these gloves did not just vanish," Choi Day said. "Someone or something put them behind that equipment unit." "I agree," Yoon Isul said. "I am just explaining that losing gloves is very normal for humans. It is not suspicious behavior. We are actually quite bad at keeping track of small items." Park Hyun felt relieved to hear the doctor say this. She had been feeling embarrassed about losing her glove. At that moment, Captain Kivrath returned to the security office. He had been in communication with other Vrelnari on the ship. "I have been consulting with my colleagues," he said. "They inform me that humans are known across the galaxy for losing items, especially small paired items like gloves and socks." "Socks too?" Skrit asked. She had been quiet during most of the discussion. "Especially socks," Yoon Isul confirmed. "But this does not explain the cache of gloves," Kivrath insisted. "Why were they all in one location? Hidden away?" "That is what we need to find out," Choi Day said. He stood up. "I am going back to Cargo Bay 7. I want to examine that area more carefully." "We will come too," Toomba said, jumping down from his chair. "And I will join you," Yoon Isul added. "This mystery is fascinating." Captain Kivrath made a clicking sound. "Very well, but I want answers by the end of the day. This situation is making the crew nervous. Some of the other species are starting to think humans are planning something." "Planning something with gloves?" Park Hyun asked in disbelief. "Species often fear what they do not understand," the captain said. "And right now, nobody understands this glove situation." As they left the security office, Park Hyun could not help but feel that something important was missing from their investigation. The gloves were not just lost. They had been gathered. But by whom? And why? The conference room was packed with people. Captain Kivrath had called an emergency meeting with all 23 human crew members on the Celestial Harmony. They sat around a large oval table, looking confused and worried. Park Hyun sat between Choi Dae and Dr. Yooni Sul. The crate of gloves sat in the center of the table like evidence at a trial. Several alien crew members stood along the walls observing. Word had spread through the ship about the glove mystery, and everyone wanted to know what was happening. Captain Kivrath stood at the head of the table. His forearms were folded in a way that showed he was deeply troubled. "I have called this meeting to address a serious situation," he began. "Over the past 6 months, human crew members have been losing gloves. This alone is not concerning. However, we have discovered that 20 of these gloves were hidden in Cargo Bay 7. I need to understand why." The humans looked at each other with confused expressions. "Captain, with respect, none of us hid those gloves," said Kang Minho, one of the engineers. "We just lost them during work." "Then explain how they all ended up in the same location," Kivrath said. His voice was patient but firm. "Behind equipment that is rarely used, all gathered together. Maybe someone is playing a prank," suggested Han Ji-woo. "A prank that spans 6 months?" Choi Dae said. "That seems unlikely." A woman named Lee Bora spoke up from the far end of the table. She was the oldest human on the ship, a cargo specialist who had been working in space for 15 years. She had short gray hair and a weathered face that had seen many worlds. "Captain, may I examine the gloves?" she asked. Kivrath gestured with one of his arms. "Please." Lee Bora stood and walked to the crate. She pulled out glove after glove, looking at each one carefully. She checked the labels, felt the material, and examined the wear patterns. As she worked, a smile began to form on her face. Then she started to chuckle. The chuckle became a laugh. The room went silent. Everyone stared at her. "Lee Bora, this is not funny," Choi Dae said sternly. "Oh, but it is," Lee Bora said, wiping tears from her eyes. "Captain, I think I know what happened. And it has nothing to do with humans hoarding or hiding anything." "Then please explain," Kivrath said. Lee Bora held up 2 gloves. "These are both right-handed gloves, yes?" "Correct," the captain said. "And you said 8 people reported lost gloves over 6 months?" "Yes," Lee Bora smiled. "Captain, have you ever wondered why humans always pack extra gloves when they travel?" Kivrath's antenna twitched. "I assumed it was standard preparedness." "It is," Lee Bora said. "But do you know why we need to be prepared? Because humans lose gloves all the time. Not sometimes. Not occasionally. All the time. It is one of the most reliable facts about human nature." Dr. Yooni Sul nodded. "I mentioned this earlier. It is a well-documented phenomenon." "But I do not understand," said Grulmox, the reptilian engineer who was observing from the wall. "How do humans lose so many gloves? Do you not keep track of your possessions?" "We try," Park Hyun admitted. "But gloves are small, and we take them on and off constantly. We put them down for a moment, and then we forget where we put them. On Earth," Lee Bora continued, "there are billions of single gloves lost every year. Billions. There are entire collections of lost gloves in cities. People photograph them and make art projects about them. It is such a common problem that we have sayings about it." A young human technician named Ansuji raised her hand. "My grandmother used to say that lost gloves go to live with lost socks in a magical land." Several humans laughed at this. The aliens looked even more confused. "But this still does not explain the cache," Captain Kivrath said. "If humans simply lose gloves, they should be scattered across the ship. Why were they all in one place?" "That," Lee Bora said, "is the question we need to answer." "Because I agree with you, Captain. Someone or something gathered these gloves, but it was not any of us." Choi Dae stood up. "I searched Cargo Bay 7 this morning with a security team. We found something interesting behind that old environmental unit." He activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed images of scratch marks on the metal floor. "These scratches are recent," Choi Dae said, "within the past few months, and they lead from the ventilation shaft to the area where the gloves were found." "Something has been moving through the vents," Yooni Sul said, leaning forward to study the images. "Something small," Choi Dae added. "The ventilation shafts in that section are only about 30 centimeters wide." Tumba, who had been sitting quietly with Skrit near the door, spoke up. "Could it be a maintenance drone?" "Drones do not leave these kinds of marks," Choi Dae said. "These scratches suggest organic claws or nails." A chill went through the room. The idea that something was living in the ship's walls stealing gloves was unsettling. Could it be dangerous? Park Hyun asked. We do not know, Choi Dae said, but something has been taking gloves specifically. Not food, not tools, just gloves. Why would any creature want gloves? Asked Kivrath. Lee Bora was still holding one of the gloves. She rubbed it between her fingers thoughtfully. These gloves are warm, she said. They are designed to hold heat, and they are soft, comfortable. You think something is using them for warmth? Unisul asked. Maybe, Lee Bora said. Or comfort. Or both, Grulmox made a rumbling sound. We should seal the ventilation shafts in that sector. Trap whatever this creature is. No, Unisul said quickly. If this creature is hiding and stealing gloves, it is probably scared. Trapping it might make it desperate. Desperate creatures can be dangerous. Then what do you suggest? Captain Kivrath asked. Let me examine the area more carefully, Unisul said. As a xenobiologist, I might be able to identify what kind of creature we are dealing with. Once we know that, we can decide how to proceed safely. The captain considered this. Very well. But I want security present at all times. Choi Dae, assign a team. Already done, Captain. And what about the gloves? Asked Park Hyun. Should we return them to their owners? Choi Dae shook his head. They are evidence for now. Besides, most of you have already received replacement gloves. That is another thing, said Kivrath, his tone slightly exasperated. Humans go through more gloves than any other species goes through any equipment. Our supply inventory shows that we have ordered 3 times as many gloves since humans joined the crew. I can explain that too, Lee Bora said with a grin. We know we lose gloves, so we always pack extras. And when we lose those extras, we order more. It is an endless cycle. But you know you will lose them, Kivrath said. Why not develop better ways to keep track of them? We have tried, Park Hyun said. There are glove clips and strings that connect them in special pockets, but somehow we still lose them. It is like the universe conspires to separate humans from their gloves, Ansuji added. This is the most absurd species trait I have ever encountered, Kivrath said, but there was no anger in his voice, just pure bewilderment. Welcome to humanity, Choi Dae said dryly. We are very good at some things. Keeping track of gloves is not one of them. The meeting ended with a plan. Dr. Unisul would investigate the cargo bay with a security team. The humans would continue their regular duties but report any other missing items immediately, and everyone would be alert for signs of the mysterious creature. As the crew filed out of the conference room, Lee Bora pulled Park Hyun aside. Do not feel bad about losing your glove, the older woman said kindly. I have been in space for 15 years and I have probably lost 50 gloves. Maybe more. It is just what humans do, but why? Park Hyun asked. Why are we so bad at this one thing? Lee Bora smiled. Because we are human. We are not perfect. We make mistakes. We forget things. But we also adapt. We prepare for our own failures. And somehow we keep going anyway. Park Hyun thought about this as she headed back to her quarters. Somewhere in the walls of the ship something small was hiding. Something that had been stealing gloves for months. And tomorrow they would try to find out what it was. 3 days passed without any new discoveries. Dr. Unisul had examined every centimeter of Cargo Bay 7 with her team. They found more scratch marks, a few strands of strange fiber, and some disturbed dust patterns. But no creature. Whatever was living in the walls was good at hiding. The investigation seemed to be at a dead end. Captain Kivrath declared the case closed, though unsolved. The gloves were returned to storage, and the crew was told to be vigilant but not worried. Life on the Celestial Harmony returned to normal, but Tumba and Skrit were not satisfied. We found the gloves, Tumba said to his friend as they ate lunch in the junior crew cafeteria. We should be the ones to find the creature too. The doctor and the security team could not find it, Skrit pointed out. How can we do better? Because we are small, Tumba said. We can fit into places they cannot. And we have better noses. Skrit's ears perked up. This was true. Felnari had an excellent sense of smell, much better than humans or most other species on the ship. We should ask permission first, Skrit said. We will, Tumba promised. Come on. They found Park Hyun in the engineering workshop repairing a power coupling. She looked up when they approached. Hello, you two, she said with a smile. What can I do for you? We want to help find the creature, Tumba said. The one that took the gloves. Park Hyun set down her tools. That is very brave, but the captain said the investigation is over. But it is not really over, Skrit said. The creature is still out there. What if it takes something more important than gloves next time? Park Hyun considered this. The cubs made a good point. Just because the captain had closed the case did not mean the problem was solved. What do you want to do? She asked. Go back to the cargo bay, Toomba said. Search more carefully. We are good at finding things. You certainly are, Park Hyun agreed, remembering how they had found all the gloves. She thought for a moment. Okay, but I am coming with you. And we tell Security Chief Choi Dae where we are going. The cubs agreed happily. An hour later, the three of them stood in Cargo Bay 7. Choi Dae had given permission but assigned a security officer to watch the entrance. Just in case, where should we start? Park Hyun asked. The same place we found the gloves, Skrit said. Behind the old environmental unit. They made their way to the back corner of the cargo bay. The area had been searched thoroughly, but maybe fresh eyes would see something new. Toomba squeezed behind the environmental unit first. He moved slowly, sniffing the air. Skrit followed him. Park Hyun was too large to fit, so she waited outside. I smell something, Toomba called out. Something warm, like sunshine and flowers, Skrit finished. But also something else. Something scared. Park Hyun felt her heart beat faster. Be careful. If you see anything, come back out immediately. The cubs moved deeper into the narrow space. The emergency lighting cast strange shadows. Toomba's nose led him to a maintenance panel in the wall. It was slightly loose, hanging at an odd angle. Look at this, he said to Skrit. Together they pulled on the panel. It came away easily, revealing a dark opening that led into the ship's internal structure. Should we go in? Skrit whispered. Just a little bit, Toomba said. They crawled through the opening. Behind the wall was a small space where pipes and wires ran through the ship's framework. It smelled like metal and recycled air, and something else. Something alive. Skrit's eyes adjusted to the darkness. She could see better than humans in low light, and what she saw made her gasp. Toomba, look. In the corner of the space, built against a warm pipe, was a nest. It was carefully constructed from thermal insulation strips, fabric scraps, and gloves. The gloves formed the soft lining of the nest, creating a warm and comfortable interior. And in the center of the nest were 3 eggs. They were about the size of Toomba's fist, with shells that shimmered with rainbow colors in the dim light. They looked fragile and precious. Eggs, Toomba breathed. Someone made a nest. A soft sound came from deeper in the shadows. Both cubs froze. Something was moving toward them. Something small and careful. A creature emerged from the darkness. It was about the size of a cat, with 6 legs and soft purple fur that seemed to glow faintly. It had large eyes like black pearls and delicate wings folded against its back. The creature made a soft chirping sound, watching the cubs nervously. Hello, Skrit said gently. We are not going to hurt you. The creature chirped again and moved closer to the nest, positioning itself between the cubs and the eggs. It was clearly a mother protecting her young. We need to get Park Hyun, Toomba said quietly. She needs to see this. They backed away slowly, keeping their movements calm and non-threatening. The creature watched them go but did not follow. Park Hyun listened to their description with growing excitement and concern. A nest? With eggs? And a creature you have never seen before? She was beautiful, Skrit said. And scared. She was protecting her eggs. We need Dr. Yoon, Park Hyun said immediately. She activated her communicator. Dr. Yoon, this is Park Hyun. We found something in Cargo Bay 7. You need to come right away. Unisol arrived within minutes, along with Choi Dae and Captain Kivrath. The cubs led them all to the opening behind the maintenance panel. It is too small for me to fit through, Unisul said, frustrated. Can you take images with this? She handed Toomba a small camera device. The cub nodded and crawled back into the opening with Skrit. They were careful not to get too close to the nest or frighten the mother creature. The images came through on Unisul's data pad. Everyone gathered around to look. By the stars, Captain Kivrath said softly. Is that what I think it is? If you think it is a Quilix, then yes, Unisul said. Her voice was shaking with excitement. This is incredible. A Quilix? Park Hyun asked. What is that? An extremely rare species, Unisul explained. They are native to the Kelvar system, but their homeworld was destroyed by an asteroid impact 20 years ago. We thought they were extinct. How did one get on our ship? Choi Dae asked. We stopped at a supply station near the Kelvar system 6 months ago, Kivrath said. She must have stowed away then. 6 months ago, Park Hyun said slowly. That is when the gloves started disappearing. Unisol nodded. Quilix are known to build nests from soft, warm materials. In the wild, they used plant fibers and animal fur, but on a ship. She gestured at the image of the nest made from gloves. She used what she could find. Park Hyun finished. Our gloves. They are perfect nesting material, Unisul said. Thermal gloves retain heat, and they have been worn by humans, so they carry warmth and the scent of life. For a scared, pregnant Quilix trying to build a safe place for her eggs, they would seem ideal. Everyone was quiet for a moment, taking in this information. So the gloves were not stolen, Skrit said. They were borrowed. For babies. Essentially, yes, Unisul confirmed. Park Hyun felt a strange emotion rising in her chest. This creature had been hiding in their ship for months, scared and alone, trying to create a safe place for her children. And she had used the one thing humans kept losing. Their gloves. What do we do now? She asked. Captain Kivrath's expression was difficult to read, but his voice was thoughtful. That is an excellent question, and one that requires careful consideration. Choide was already making notes on his datapad. I will need to file a report. A stowaway, even an unintentional one, is still a security matter. And those eggs, Unisul said, looking at the images again. They are precious beyond measure. The last Quilix eggs that might exist in the entire galaxy. The weight of that statement settled on everyone. This was not just about stolen gloves anymore. This was about the survival of a species. The emergency meeting was held in Captain Kivrath's private office. The room was larger than the security office, but just as neat and organized. Maps of star systems covered one wall. The captain sat behind his desk with his forearms folded. Around him stood Dr. Unisul, Security Chief Choi Dae, and Park Hyun. The two cubs, Tumba and Skrit, sat on a bench near the window. I have consulted the Galactic Wildlife Protection Protocols, Kivrath said. They are very clear. When a protected species is discovered, it must be reported immediately to the nearest wildlife authority station, which is 3 weeks away, Choi Dae noted. Correct, Kivrath said. We would need to alter our course and transport the Quilix there. The authorities would take custody of the creature and her eggs. And what would happen to her? Park Hyun asked. Unisul's expression was sad. Standard protocol is quarantine and study. The mother would be separated from her eggs to prevent contamination. The eggs would be placed in incubators. Everything would be documented and controlled. That sounds terrible, Skrit said quietly. It is designed to protect the species, Kivrath explained, to give the eggs the best chance of survival. But she is already keeping them safe, Tumba protested. She built a good nest. She has been taking care of them for months. The protocol does not account for that, Kivrath said. It assumes that artificial incubation is always superior to natural nesting. Park Hyun felt her hands clench into fists. Something about this felt wrong. The Quilix had survived on her own for 6 months. She had found a way to build a nest and protect her eggs, and now they wanted to tear her away from everything she had worked so hard to create. Captain, can I say something? Park Hyun asked. Kivrath gestured with one arm. Please. That Quilix has been on this ship since we stopped at the supply station near Kelvar. She hid in the walls. She was scared and alone in a completely foreign environment. But she did not give up. She explored. She found materials. She built a nest. She did everything she needed to do to give her babies a chance. I agree, Kivrath said. She is clearly a survivor. And we want to reward that by taking everything away from her. Park Hyun's voice was louder than she intended. Sorry, Captain. But that does not seem right, Choi Dae spoke up. Park Hyun has a point. Separating a mother from her eggs could cause severe stress. Stress could harm both the mother and the eggs. The protocols are designed by experts, Kivrath said. But his tone suggested he was not fully convinced either. The protocols were designed for normal situations, Unisul said. This is not normal. The Quilix is already nested and comfortable. Her eggs are developing well based on what I can see from the images. Moving her could be more dangerous than leaving her where she is. You are suggesting we leave her on the ship? Kivrath asked. I am suggesting we give her a choice, Unisul said. We create a proper habitat for her. We provide food and safety. We let her finish raising her eggs in peace. And then, when the young are ready, we contact the Wildlife Authority. Kivrath was silent for a long moment. His compound eyes moved from one person to another, reading their faces. "This would be highly irregular," he finally said. "But not illegal," Choi Day pointed out. "The protocols say we must protect the species. They do not specifically require immediate transfer. And we would be protecting her," Park Hyun added. "Better than anyone else could. How?" Kivrath asked. "We have no experience with Quilix care. But we have something better," Unisul said. "We have compassion. And we have humans." Everyone looked at her in surprise. "What do humans have to do with this?" Kivrath asked. Unisul smiled. "Humans are very good at adapting, at making things work even when they are not perfect. That Quilix survived on this ship by using human carelessness. We lose gloves. She found gloves. We kept losing them. She kept collecting them. We accidentally helped her," Park Hyun said, understanding dawning. "Exactly," Unisul said. "Now we can help her on purpose." Kivrath made a clicking sound with his mandibles. "You are suggesting that humans take responsibility for this creature?" "I am," Unisul said. "With my medical oversight, of course." Park Hyun stepped forward. "I will do it. I will take care of her. I have space in my quarters. We can move her nest there. I will make sure she has everything she needs." "This is a significant commitment," Kivrath warned. "Quilix eggs take approximately 60 days to hatch. Then the young need another 90 days of intensive care before they are independent." 5 months, Park Hyun said. "I understand. You would sacrifice your personal space and free time for a creature you have never even seen?" Kivrath asked. Park Hyun thought about the image of the nest, the careful way it had been built, the 3 precious eggs in the center, the scared mother protecting them. She needed help. Park Hyun said simply, "We have the ability to help." "So we should," Choi Day nodded. "I agree. And I will assign security resources to ensure her safety. The human crew will want to help too," Park Hyun added. "We can take turns. Share the responsibility." "You would all give up your gloves to a creature that stole from you?" Kivrath asked. "She did not steal," Park Hyun corrected gently. "She borrowed. And yes, we would give them willingly now. Humans are good at that. Helping. Even when it is not logical or efficient. Maybe especially when it is not logical or efficient." Kivrath was quiet for a very long time. His forearms moved in complex patterns that indicated deep thought. Finally, he spoke. "I will allow this, under several conditions." "Name them," Choi Day said. "First, Dr. Unisul must examine the Quilix and her eggs regularly. If she determines that the creature would be better served by wildlife authority care, we alter course immediately." "Agreed," Unisul said. "Second, Park Hyun must file daily reports on the creature's condition. Any problems are reported immediately to me and the doctor." "I can do that," Park Hyun said. "Third, when the young hatch and are stable, we do contact the wildlife authority. This species is too important to hide." "We would never hide them," Park Hyun promised. "We just want to give them the best start possible." Kivrath stood up. "Then it is decided. We will move the Quilix and her nest to Park Hyun's quarters tonight. Dr. Yoon will supervise the move to ensure minimal stress to the mother." "Thank you, Captain," Park Hyun said. "Do not thank me yet," Kivrath said. "You have just committed yourself to one of the most difficult tasks on this ship, raising an alien species that we know very little about." "I will help," Tumba said, jumping up from the bench. "Me too," Skrit added. "We all will," Choi Day said. That evening, a team of engineers built a special enclosure in Park Hyun's quarters. It was temperature-controlled with soft lighting and plenty of space for the nest. They lined it with extra insulation and installed monitoring equipment so Dr. Yoon could check on the Quilix remotely. Moving the nest was delicate work. Park Hyun and the cubs carefully carried each glove from the original nest and placed it in exactly the same position in the new enclosure. The Quilix mother watched nervously from inside the ventilation shaft. "Come on," Park Hyun said softly. "It is safe. You can come out." The Quilix chirped but did not move. Tumba had an idea. He took off his own work jacket, which was soft and warm, and laid it near the entrance to the enclosure. "A gift," he said. "For your nest." The Quilix's large black eyes focused on the jacket. Slowly, carefully, she crept forward. She sniffed the jacket, then gently picked it up with her front legs and carried it into the new nest. She arranged it carefully around her eggs. Then she looked at Park Hyun and chirped again. It almost sounded like thank you. Over the next few days, All the human crew members visited Park Hyun's quarters. Each one brought something for the nest. More gloves, of course, but also soft blankets, warm socks, and pieces of thermal clothing. The Quillix accepted each gift and carefully incorporated it into her nest. "I have never seen anything like this," Captain Kivrath said when he came to inspect. "Your entire species is donating personal items to a creature that you discovered only days ago." "She needed help," Lee Bora said. "She was delivering a thick winter scarf. And we have extra." "You always have extra," Kivrath observed. "Because you always lose things." "Exactly," Lee Bora said with a grin. "We know we will lose things, so we bring backups. And when we do not lose them, we have extras to share." Kivrath watched as the Quillix took the scarf and wove it into her nest. "I am beginning to understand something about humans," he said slowly. "What is that?" Park Hyun asked. "You are not good at keeping things," Kivrath said. "You lose gloves and tools and data pads. You are careless and forgetful. This should be a weakness." "But," Park Hyun prompted. "But you turn it into a strength," Kivrath said. "You know you will fail at small things, so you prepare for those failures. And that preparation means you always have extra, always have something to give. You are ready to help at any moment because you are already ready for your own mistakes." Park Hyun had never thought about it that way, but the captain was right. Humans lost things. They forgot things. They made mistakes. So they adapted. They prepared. They brought extras. And when someone needed help, those extras were ready to be shared. "I think," Kivrath said, "that this is the most human thing I have ever witnessed. You turned lost gloves into a nest for an endangered species. Only humans could do that.